Major news out of the Obama administration today. General David Petraeus has resigned as director of the CIA. This is part of the statement that was released from the CIA, and Petraeus saying in which, quote, "Yesterday afternoon, I went to the White House and asked the president to be allowed, for personal reasons, to resign from my position as director of CIA. After being married for over 37 years, I showed extremely poor judgment by engaging in an extramarital affair. Such behavior is unacceptable, both as a husband and as the leader of an organization such as ours." Now, he went on to say the president has graciously accepted that resignation. Petraeus took over as head of the CIA last September following his time as head of the Allied forces in Afghanistan. And I want to bring in Louis Martinez, who is at the Pentagon, has been following this story. Louis, I want to ask you, how did this story generate throughout the day?
Well, Dan, this kind of bubbled up very slowly this afternoon. There were initial reports that Petraeus was going to discuss his future at the White House. I was able to get a U.S. official who confirmed that Petraeus would be arriving at the White House or had had some kind of White House meeting, but was very leery about talking about exactly what might be going down. He kind of hinted that something might be coming down later in the day. All of a sudden then, the news broke during Jay Carney's briefing at the White House briefing room. Carney was asked specifically early on whether Petraeus was coming to the White House. He said, "I know of no plans." Then later when the news broke that he had resigned, he confirmed that the president would have something more to say about it later. So this was something that had been building slowly throughout the afternoon and then kind of hit Washington like a brick. This is just a stunner. There are officials here in this building at the Pentagon that are just stunned, surprised by the whole thing. Obviously, General Petraeus, with his many decades of service as a top general in Iraq and Afghanistan, as you mentioned, has a lot of supporters in the building, and also over the years has earned his good share of detractors. But this is something that you could never have imagined coming down. One of the things that was always talked about was Petraeus' dedication to service and his classic commitment.
He has been commander of the International Security Assistance Forces, commander of U.S. forces in Afghanistan, preceded by Leon Panetta, who, and by many respects, is very widely regarded and very well respected as well. And as you had mentioned, now David Petraeus earning that same kind of respect as well. Do we know at this point who potentially could replace him? Will there be an acting deputy that will be stepping into his role?
Well, we think the top choice right now is going to be acting deputy Mike Morrell. Morrell actually ran the agency for several months prior to Petraeus' arrival. This was the little period in between when Panetta left to come over here to the Pentagon, and Petraeus was winding down his leadership over in Afghanistan. So Morrell is the leading candidate. He obviously he is a career lifer at the agency, highly respected, an operator who's been there, like I said, his whole career, and obviously knows the building inside and out.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Louis.
Well, one of the things that I was going to say is the Petraeus' resignation is going to have not just its detractors or its critics here in Washington in terms of the affair, but also about the political ramifications and the undertones, potentially the connections it may have had to the attack in Benghazi. Petraeus and the agency have come under fire the last couple of weeks, coming kind of slowly emerging a picture that the CIA was heavily involved in protecting the consulate in Benghazi and whether their actions were appropriate.
That is exactly what I was interrupting, and I wanted to ask you about that because the timing of this thing, a lot of people are going to say that it might be a little too coincidental. Are we already starting to hear that kind of rumor mill starting to generate?
Well, you know, the dangerous thing about the internet is that rumors spread quickly. I haven't had a chance to check it out there, but I can assume that people are already out there speculating that there must be some tie-in. Privately, I think you're going to hear a U.S. officials say that this is really what it is. It's plain, white, and simple. This was an extramarital affair that was behind this, and this was not anything to do with Benghazi. The timing is going to raise some eyebrows because Petraeus, being one of the top two intelligence officials here, DNI Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, both of them were scheduled to be on Capitol Hill next week for some very tough closed hearings where they were going to hear a lot of questions from members of Congress about what the U.S. knew about Benghazi prior to the attack and what the response was. I think it's pretty certain you're going to see some tie-ins, but privately I'm already hearing from officials stressing that this has nothing to do with it.
In the short term, though, how much of an impact does it make on this kind of announcement on the day-to-day operations of the CIA?
Well, obviously, it's a tiered structure. A lot of duties get done by the deputy, the morale that we were talking about. But of course, like any agency here in town, that structure you can fill in the gap if something happens. And I think that's what we're going to see. Now, in terms of long-term continuity, the question becomes whether morale becomes the long-term choice for CIA or they look elsewhere. But for now, it's going to be morale. So in the short term, I don't foresee any changes. Obviously, every director, every leader of any organization here in this town brings his own stamp. Petraeus was known as a by-the-book kind of guy, a little more rigid in his handling of the agency than Petraeus was. Then Panetta, excuse me. Panetta earned a reputation during his stint at the CIA for having earned the respect and admiration of the workforce, something he didn't have at the start. And Petraeus came in, he was seen as an outsider, and he too has built his respect, but in a different way.
Do we know, has the Secretary of Defense Panetta, has he made any kind of a statement or reaction to this? We
have not seen anything from Panetta, at least that I have in the time that I've been here. This is something that obviously has been developing quietly over the last day. Petraeus' statement said that he met with the president yesterday afternoon. So I'm pretty sure that senior leaders like Panetta and Clinton may have known about this earlier today, but so far I have not seen anything.
All right, Louis Martinez at the Pentagon. Louis, thank you so much. And again, of course, the breaking news coming out this afternoon from Washington, from the Pentagon. In fact, the CIA Director David Petraeus is stepping down after admitting to an extramarital affair. Of course, we'll have the latest on abcnews.com as this story continues to develop.